Alright, so we're going to do a demo here for your assignment on scale. And what your assignment is going to be is to come up with a creature sketch, something really quick. This is mine. I did it beforehand just so that we could get to the assignment part. But you can either use one of your thumbnails from earlier and just refine the sketch a little bit, or you can come up with a new one. It doesn't matter. You just need to come up with a quick creature sketch, and your assignment is to use the same creature and either redraw it or edit it to appear like it's 3 different sizes. Okay, so what we're gonna do first, we have this creature right now he's sitting on a flat plane and we have no reference for how big he is. So one thing that we can do is I'm just going to use this as our base for the creature, and to give us an idea what size he's starting at, I'm going to one of the things we can do is I'm going to add a saddle on his back. Okay, now by adding this saddle, what it instantly does is it tells us, oh, okay, this creature is roughly big enough that a person can ride them. And we can see that based off of how big the saddle is compared to the creature. And since we're all humans and we know about the size that a human is, it gives us a really good idea of how big this creature is, right? So we're just going to sketch that in here really quick. Now, when you do it on yours, it doesn't have to be a saddle, and the 3 sizes can be whatever size you want, right? They could be Godzilla size, they could be, mouse size, microscopic size. It doesn't matter what size you make them. What matters is whether or not your audience can tell how big it is, okay? So, I'll finish this one up really quick, then we'll move on to the next one. Alright, so that gives us a good idea of how big this creature is, right? Let's say we want to make it big. We want this creature to feel huge. So what I'm going to start off with first is, one, I'm going to make his eye a lot smaller, right? If this creature was huge, his eye would be pretty tiny compared to the rest of his head, okay? So I'm going to shrink his eye down really small, okay? Now, I also, and let's move it back a little bit too really quick. If you're doing this not digitally, you're doing it on pencil and paper, that's okay. What you can do is either just redraw it or use tracing paper to trace over the parts you want to keep and redraw the parts you don't. So I made his eyes smaller. I'm also going to actually make his entire head smaller on his body, so it feels like he's this really large creature towering over, right? So that helps a little bit, but it still doesn't quite feel huge yet. So what else can we do? Well, I am going to add maybe a few birds flying around his head. Okay, that will help give us an idea of how big this thing is. And I'm also going to, in the background, I'm going to put some mountains, right? And this really gives us an idea of how big this creature is. Okay, and then I'll put even some in the foreground, maybe a little bit bigger even. And this really, suddenly we could tell, wow, this is a massive creature. This thing is bigger than Godzilla, right? We can tell that just by the elements that we added. You can even add a little bit of clouds. And have, parts of it overlapping, give it a sense of depth, right? So now we can tell that this thing is massive, all right? Now let's do one where it's tiny, okay? So we have this guy, and we want him to feel super small. So the first thing I'm going to do is make his eye bigger on his head, okay? And already right away we start to feel like he's kind of a little guy, right? So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other guy, only make his head bigger instead of smaller. Alright, so now we need something in the background to give him some more scale and tell us how big he is. What I'm gonna do, let's go ahead and draw, let's draw like an apple in the background, right? Maybe he's sitting next to an apple. Now we can really pretty quickly tell that he's really small, right? And depending on how big we blow up this apple and make it, will give us an even better idea, you know, what size this creature is. So I'm just gonna move it around a little bit. That's better. Throw a few specks on there. Right? And now we can tell, oh, he's a tiny little guy, right? So try using some of these techniques, and maybe there's something else you figured out that you think works good. But your assignment is to come up with a creature sketch and then do 3 separate drawings where he appears in 3 different sizes, and they don't have to be the same size as I picked. You could do any variation, but you're just trying to make them look 3 different scales. Okay, hopefully you guys learned something, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Are you looking for even more content on how to become a digital artist? Then check out some of my online courses. There are over 50 hours of in-depth content, and they cover a range of topics from creature design to light and color, and from character design to digital painting. You'll gain access to a private Facebook group for students only, where you can stay motivated and get feedback on your work. Plus, I provide fully responsive support throughout all of my courses, and I offer a 100% no questions asked money back guarantee. So normally my courses range from $100 to $200, but subscribers can take any of them, anytime, any course, for only $12, and once you buy it, you own it for life. There's no time limits, no subscriptions, anything like that. So if you want to show your support and become a better artist in the process, then use the link in the description, or just use promo code YT discount on any of my courses. So appreciate you guys. Have a good one.